How's that look? That looks a little bit better. So today we're starting a new project. This is going to be very similar to the Mini Baja Bug project that we built, which is not done yet, but that thing was a ton of fun to build. You guys seem to really like it, and ever since I built that thing, I've been kind of wanting to build more of these miniature car looking projects. Now this is going to be a mini lifted muscle car. Now, I'll be honest, I was originally trying to find a more of a muscle car looking fiberglass body, but honestly I just could not find anything. I was trying to find like a Corvette body or a older Dodge Charger go-kart fiberglass body, but I couldn't find any. I did find one for a Corvette, but it was actually ended up smaller, a lot smaller than the fiberglass body of the Mini Baja Bug project, and that thing was already a hard enough time getting everything to fit in there. So I decided to just use this. Some of you guys may recognize this as the fiberglass body that was on the lifted go-kart that I built many years ago. And the reason I chose this is because I already have it, and also this is actually way bigger than the fiberglass body of the Mini Baja Bug project. Measuring it and comparing it, this is 21 inches longer and 10 inches wider, which should make it a lot easier to get everything to fit in here and be more comfortable, especially because I want to make this thing four-wheel drive. Now, there are a lot of spots on this fiberglass that are in really bad shape. This whole front hood actually ended up getting ripped off years ago, and I did repair it, putting fiberglass on the back end, but I never put Bondo on this to repair it. There's also other spots on here that's cracked in half, a lot of chips, a lot of dings and everything. So once we're done with this project and ready to be painted and everything, I'll go back and fill all this with Bondo and smooth it out and repair any patches and repair anything that needs to be repaired and make this look a lot better. Now, first thing let's start working on is building the skeleton, the frame that gets bolted on the inside of this, that goes all around here and then goes back up to these rails, and then that's kind of the beginnings of the frame, and then we build the rest of the frame off of that. Alright, so just like the Mini Baja Bug project, with this I left a gap between the fiberglass and all this tubing right here. I didn't put the, I made it so where the tubing isn't touching the fiberglass, which makes it to where later on we can add this cushion. This is actually pipe insulation, and I put it all around all this tubing, so therefore the fiberglass has something nice and soft to lay on, and it's not laying on the tubing, it's not rattling, and not doing anything like that. So yeah, once we add this stuff much later on in this project, it shouldn't do that anymore. Now, I'm really glad I thought of this when I was starting to build this beginnings of the tubing, or the beginnings of the frame, because I was originally going to have this piece of tubing going from here to this corner, but then I remembered that the tires that I bought for this project are 23 inches tall, which is that big right there. And unlike the Mini Baja Bug project, where the tires are sticking out past the fiberglass, and with that fiberglass it kind of has really big wheel wells that we're able to kind of work. With this one, because it is a car, we're going to have to cut the wheel wells a lot bigger, so therefore the tires can fit pretty much, not completely in the fiberglass. I'm going to have the tires stick out a little bit, but they are going to be pretty much in the fiberglass. They're pretty much going to be like right here. So I put this piece of tubing about 1 inch where I think the wheel well needs to be, because yeah, we're going to have to cut a lot of this fiberglass to get these tires to fit. I'm hoping I didn't get too big of tires. I was looking at 22s, and it's like, let's get a little bit big. And then I was looking at 25s. Like I think 25s are a little bit too big, so I got 23s. But hopefully they're not too big, and hopefully we can get them to fit in this fiberglass. So, like I said before, I do want to make this thing 4-wheel drive because I think that would be awesome, and to do that, we're going to be using this. This is a Polaris, I think it's off a Sportsman 500, but I'm not 100% sure about that. All I know is it's a Polaris gearbox, and it has not only 4-wheel drive, but it has high range, low range, and reverse, which should be awesome. Now, I will admit, this thing is kind of really large, and I am pretty sure I can get it to fit in this fiberglass body. It is going to be a bit of a challenge to get everything to fit in there, but I think I can make it work. The engine is going to have to go here on top of it, and the seat is basically going to have to go as close as possible to this, as well as the drive shaft. Now, here's the challenging part, is because this is 4-wheel drive, obviously there's a drive shaft going from this up to the front differential in the front, which means there's going to have to be a drive shaft going underneath the seat. Now, this fiberglass body, there's not that much depth to this thing, so what we first have to do is we first have to figure out exactly where the seat needs to go, because I think a good seating position is more important than this being mounted in a good spot. So we're first going to figure out where the seat needs to go height-wise, then that will determine exactly where this needs to go height-wise. If I do have to make this stick out a little bit past the bottom of the fiberglass, I don't think that's the end of the world. We're probably going to have to do that anyways, just to get everything to fit, and it'll make more room for the engine on top of this. Alright, so I put this fiberglass body on some 1-2-3 blocks, so the fiberglass is sitting about 1 inch higher than the bottom of the seat. Ooh. There we go. This thing is a lot more roomy than the fiberglass body of the Mini Baja Bug project. I mean, like I said before, this thing is 10 inches wider and 21 inches longer. So my legs are pretty much all the way stretched out, which is awesome. With the Baja Bug, I'm kind of having to do this and ride it like this. This one, I know you guys can't see my legs, but they're pretty much almost stretched out all the way. Yeah, I think this is a good height. Plenty of shoulder room, plenty of room for steering, plenty of room for my legs and everything. One thing I am realizing is not only do we have to have the front A-arms in the front, we also have to have the shocks, the steering, and also my legs have to go there, and the pedals have to go there, and we are adding a pretty decent sized front differential in the front, as well as CV axles. And I kind of already had a really hard time getting everything to fit in the Mini Baja Bug project. And with that one, we didn't have a front diff, and we didn't have CV axles. So, and this is it's a little bit wider, but because I'm making the tires a little bit more narrow, you know, I think it's going to be pretty much the same size as far as tire width. So yeah, that's going to be a bit of a challenge trying to get all of that to fit, you know, in here and make plenty of room for my legs and not be super crammed in here, and pedals. But I think this is pretty good, so we should mount the seat about an inch lower than the bottom of the fiberglass. Now we just need to figure out the difference between the bottom of the seat and where the differential needs to go. That way we can figure out exactly how low to build the bottom of the frame. Alright, so this is a general mock-up of obviously where the seat's going to go and where this gearbox needs to go. I'm probably going to have to move the seat a little bit further forward, which is actually good because it makes it more room between the CVT and the seats. Now, I think this is enough space between the bottom of the seat and the drive shaft. It's about a ½ inch. I think that's fine. I'll put a piece of plate under there to protect it. Now, the difference between the bottom of the seat and bottom of the gearbox is 3¼ inches, which makes it to where the bottom of the gearbox and the bottom of the fiberglass body needs to be 4¼ inches, which is actually not that bad. Not bad at all. I thought it was going to be a little bit worse than that. So, now that we know that, now that we know 4¼ inches, now we can start working on the bottom of the frame. So the tires that I bought for this project just got here in the mail yesterday. Now I wanted to find some tires that don't look like ATV tires, that more look like small car tires. I found these. These were not the cheapest, but I do think they look awesome. They have a decently aggressive tread pattern and they look kind of like a small car tire. So also the rims that I bought for this thing, they've been here for like 4 or 5 days. So let's put the tires on the rims and see what this project looks like with the tires next to it. Does it not come with valve stems? For how much money I spent on these things, you'd think they would come with valve stems. So surprisingly, these rims did not come with valve stems. I had to run out to Tractor Supply and buy some valve stems for these. Unfortunately, the only ones they had were these really long 2-inch ones, and they kind of stick out a little bit. And they're not even seated in place, and they're sticking, so I want to say they're going to stick out like 3/4 of an inch, which is not great, but I checked Lowe's, they didn't have any of this size, so I don't really know what else to do aside from just use these, and you know, it's not ideal, but I think it'll be fine. Holy crap. Alright, I'll be back when I get the beast to seat. It's gonna take a while. Yeah, so these wheels are kind of really close together, so I'm gonna try and scooch this down. How's that look? That looks a little bit better. Alright, for some reason, I kind of had a heck of a time yesterday trying to get these tires, trying to get the beads to seat properly on these tires. For some reason, they're just not cooperating. I know I know the tread on that tire is backwards. I could not get the other one to the beads to seat properly. I'm having to pump them up to 50 PSI, and I'm spraying soapy water. I tried WD-40, I tried even silicone. I was thinking of even trying grease, but I think that'd be a little too messy, so I got this one on, and that one mostly on, and I'm just going to call that good for now. We'll, do the other two in the next video of this project. Now, I'm kind of wondering, did I get slightly too big of tires for this project? Because I'm kind of like looking at this thing. Either we're going to have to make it to where this frame is so high off the ground to get any sort of decent amount of suspension travel out of this project. Because, like I said before, I'm making it to where, like a car, the tires are in the frame and not sticking out past the frame or past the body. we're either going to have to make it to where this body's sitting so high off the ground to get any sort of decent amount of suspension travel, or we're just going to have to really limit how much suspension travel this project's going to have because of these tires. They're kind of big for this little fiberglass body, but yeah, I may have to make it to where we're just not going to have that much suspension travel with this project, which is not the end of the world, but the more suspension travel, the better, in my opinion, especially for an off-road vehicle. Now, I still haven't really decided on what engine I'm going to be using for this project because part of me kind of wants to use a 4-stroke. Because we're using a Polaris gearbox, I don't want to use a motorcycle engine because then we're going to be running into the exact same issue that we're having with the Mini Rock Crawler project, with the gearing inside the motorcycle engine plus the gearing inside the gearbox that we're using. Just way too much gear reduction. It makes it to where this vehicle is just so slow, even at high range, 6th gear. So for this project, because we're using a Polaris gearbox, we can't really use a motorcycle engine. We're going to have to use an engine with a CVT. So that kind of... I was kind of thinking of using a Predator engine, but then it's like, I don't know, they're not very powerful. They sound cool. They have electric starts, which is a bonus, as well as they are air-cooled, so there's no radiator, which is kind of nice, but they're not very powerful of engines. They're not very fast. Now, I do have another XLT 600. Actually, the XLT, the snowmobile engine off the 2-stroke triple yard kart project. I still have that thing. I know I'm kind of having a nightmare with the XLT 600 on the Mini Baja Bug project, but I'm kind of slowly learning how to tune these engines and get them to work better, so I almost am thinking maybe that's a better option because they're pretty lightweight, they're small, and they are fast. They're pretty powerful, and they are fast. So I'm almost considering just using that engine because I already have it. Or, I don't know, seeing if I can get some kind of 4-stroke engine or even like a quad engine, like a Polaris quad engine that has a CVT or something like that. But I was looking into those engines and they're not really, they don't really rev that high and they're not really that powerful. So maybe the XLT 600 for good performance, high speed and everything, maybe the XLT 600 is the best option for this project. But anyway. Guess that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video. One more thing I almost forgot is I'm kind of curious what kind of car is this fiberglass body styled after. From the rear and the middle, it kind of looks like a Charger, but the front, is this like a Chrysler? It looks like kind of like a Lincoln kind of car or something. So if you guys know of what kind of car this fiberglass body is modeled after, please let me know because I am kind of curious because I have no idea. I'm not super knowledgeable about older kind of cars, but it'd be kind of nice to know, what kind of car this thing's modeled after.